वो आई गई man, एक और I don't want to take that name, sorry, cut कर देना वो, पर एक वो फिल्म आई थी आई गई. So I mean it's like super historical. That temple is 9th century.
Why didn't you tell us, man?
I told you that. I'm sure.
We had no idea. We thought it's a random.
There are some
इसने
parts.
बताया था?
I told.
No, you did not tell us. I was offered Raman first. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was offered Raman first. Long way back, I offered him Luka Chupi. तो भाई साहब ने रिजेक्ट कर दी फिल्म. ठीक है.
नहीं करी. But anyways.
Where it was #1 in America, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Germany,
Singapore,
UAE.
All right, guys, all of you are listening and watching. If you're living under a rock, Stolen is on all the worldwide charts. It's streaming currently on Amazon Prime Video, and I highly advocate that you go and watch it. Terrific, tight screenplay, great thrills, fantastic performances. And remember to thank me after you watch it. I'm very pleased to welcome the principal crew. There's Abhishek Banerjee. What's up, my brother?
Thank you, Hrishi Bhai. How are you?
Very well. And Shubham, who's done such a great job. Hi, Shubham. How are you? Thank you for joining us. And Karan Tejpal, who's director, co-writer. Great to see you, brother. How are you?
Thank you, Hrishi. I'm very well. Thanks for having us here.
And Gaurav Dhingra, who's producer and co-writer. Hi, Gaurav.
Hi, how are you?
Haven't seen you since Angry Indian Goddesses. All well?
Yeah. All in the well.
Lovely. All in the well. I want to start with the making of this film. It's obviously been years in the making. It's not something that you guys sat down and said overnight, let's make a film. The producer was ready, the bags of money was ready. It wasn't easy making it, but in retrospect, with the kind of love and appreciation you've gotten around the world, Karan, it's all worth it. So talk about the genesis of it, how it all started, the germ of the idea, and who it came to, and how you started involving more and more people.
So the idea started in 2018. I came across these videos that were doing the rounds on the internet, where these two boys, it was called the Karbi Anglong lynching, where these two young men, I mean, they were kind of exactly like me. One of them was a musician, big dreadlocked hair. He was kind of unique looking like that for that space. And they were back home in Assam in Guwahati, went fishing in Karbi Anglong. It's somewhere a couple of hours away from Guwahati. And they were wrongfully accused of being child kidnappers and lynched by this mob of 500,000 men. And these videos were sort of doing the rounds, the brutality of the mob, basically lynching them, these bloodied faces and really horrible videos. That affected me quite tremendously, and I couldn't get that out of my mind. And I started to investigate a little bit about what is this going on, and then came to understand that across the country there were these incidents going on, which were then linked into the use of WhatsApp to collect crowds, large crowds. Within minutes you could collect 500,000 people. These innocent men across the country were being wrongfully accused of being child kidnappers, and sort of this idea, this phenomenon got me interested into what the hell is happening, and also to understand why it was happening, what were the reasons behind it. And as I started to unpeel those layers, a little more of this whole story started to come out, which also had sides of vigilante justice because there was no state support for the issues they were facing, these lower economic regions of the country where children were being kidnapped at a furious rate and still continue to be. 50,000 children go missing per year, and people are forced to take sort of justice. To get justice, they're forced to take matters into their own hands. So this is what was kind of going on, and I started to sort of think about a story around it. At first it was more over just to understand the situation, then I started to kind of think about a story around it. And the first collaborator out of us was Gaurav. We were working on an advertising project. In fact, when I sort of shared that idea with him, I had a short treatment kind of a thing for it at that point, and these videos, of course, and an idea about how I wanted to do it.
And Gaurav, what you've got to be very mindful of when you have a subject or a theme like this, that it doesn't end up being just a social service kind of messaging kind of film. You have to keep it entertaining. And I imagine that when the writing room sat down, which is Swapnil and yourself and Karan, you were mindful that you've got to keep the entertainment value high, make sure that it just doesn't limit itself being a social service message.
Yeah, totally. I think that is the first thing we spoke about, that we don't want to make an arty film which is not accessible to people, and then it just plays in festivals and then nothing happens to it. This was very, 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 very soon in the process of writing. We were very clear. I think also what was really good about when we started developing it was that because what he wanted to do initially, you couldn't do much, because he wanted to shoot a one take.
Yeah.
When he told me the idea, he told me, I want to shoot this lynching thing all uncut. And he was explaining me how you wanted, and I said, wow, I want to do this. It's going to be really good. Like Angry, I want to do a scriptless film, so yeah, I want to do it. It was kind of that, and then when we started getting into it, I realized that this is actually a big film. As we got into it, as we unpeeled the layers, I thought that we shouldn't waste it in a manner that's, because of this one take, it was restricting our ability to sort of do a lot of things, because then we had to find locations in one.
Yeah.
And script was getting compromised, so we dropped that idea, and this lockdown happened. And then what happened after that is that we kind of wrote the film several times over the period of time. Then we went and somebody got COVID, so it couldn't start. But it gave us a lot of insight, and it was really good for the project because it became really big. And by the time we reached Abhishek, we were very clear, exactly clear, that what we wanted to do. And because we wanted to keep this real-time narrative on, there was very few choices that you could do outside that. We were tied inside those choices. So that kept on, which is now what you see as in the film is like this edge of the seat thing that we kept on from the day one. So that was there. But to answer your question very directly, we never set out to make a art house film, and what we are trying to do is either there is binary of either festival films or big item number, cars blowing up, that kind of films. So we found a middle way where it'll play at a very good festival, but it is commercial. Today's attention economy, what is commercial?
Yeah.
Commercial is what what keeps you engaged. Engagement is equal to commercial.
Yeah.
Not item number, songs, cars blowing off. In the internet age, if you can engage somebody, that's entertainment.
And there's a market for all kinds of films. There are people who are willing to watch all kinds of films. It's just that you have to make your film with the requisite amount of sincerity and do a great job.
Of course, that's with every film.
That's the calling of it. Abhishek, I love that off the mic you and me were talking about how it's not necessary now for you anymore to just be involved as an actor and just as a casting director. There are projects that you identify and you come on saying, what is that I can contribute to this film overall? Can I bring in a friend like Shubham, who I know is a terrific writer as an actor and as well as an actor, to do dialogues as well as act in this film? When Stolen first came to you, how did you know that you wanted to be involved in certain ways, or did you just keep yourself completely open and saying, however it is, I'm going to contribute to this film?
I mean, that's what I have learnt, over the years, that you have to contribute. If you're not contributing, I think you're not doing a good service to the industry. So in whatever sense we have, like when I was a casting assistant and if I saw a shot in Delhi where No One Killed Jessica, I remember long time back, there was a character which came in taxi. And because I'm a Delhi boy, so I told them that yaar ye kabhi taxi nahi lega, ye auto hi lega, and that suggestion was included. So I feel that every time wherever we are on set, it's very in whatever capacity you're working, I think it's always good to give your suggestion and see also, check also ki baat sahi ja rahi hai ki nahi ja rahi hai. Sometimes you give suggestions and it doesn't materialize or something like that. So I've from whatever little experience I have on shoot, I think it's a collaborative effort.
Shubham, what I've found really interesting in the dialogues is that you're dealing with a cross-cultural scenario here. The boys are urban, they speak in a mix of English and Hindi. Obviously, for the locals, if they're, Rajasthan-based, Pushkar-based, they will have to have a particular kind of dialogue. And of course, Aditi, who plays the principal character, she's Bengali. She's from the east or the northeast of the country in the film, playing Jhumpa. She has her own manner of speaking and dialect. So to get all of that assimilated when you were writing those dialogues, it couldn't have been an easy thing to do. How did you manage?
So first of all, I myself alone didn't write the dialogues. Swapnil was involved, these two were involved. In fact, a lot of credit goes to actors.
Mia also.
Mia, because Mia came up with that dialect, Mia came with that research. She did a lot of research for that character. So the sound, but we were very clear about certain things because it's a thriller film. It has to have rhythm. Except rhythm nahi hogi to nahi chal payegi ye film. So every dialogue, and if you notice, there are contrasts like between two cops, contrast in dialogues, contrast in character. Between you and him and me, he's little like restless, loud. I'm very subtle, very calm, but stubborn.
You know, there are so many things that I loved about this film. One was the cinematography and the way it's shot, and I would be damned. I really thought, Karan, that especially the chase sequences in the village were shot over a large expanse of area, maybe kilometers and kilometers of shooting. But you told me it's actually a very closeted, small space. But it looks expansive because of the way that you've shot it, and it looks beautiful. India has such beautiful locations, and it looks so wonderful in Stolen, especially the pain and the pathos of what Shubham's character and Abhishek's character are going through is in stark contrast to the village, which looks so beautiful, which in itself is a paradox. And talk about identifying or doing a recce on where you want to shoot. You did say that you went to a Mayo College as mayor, so you're very familiar with Rajasthan.
So most of the recce's and the location scouting actually I did with my brother, who unfortunately couldn't be on the film eventually, and we did this over 2 years. We both of us were aware of these spaces. I mean, like the village, for example, we knew that we wanted a maze-like village, because in Rajasthan you have lots of these villages where they don't have any gullies. It's like house. So that gives that very claustrophobic feeling of no way out. So this is what we were looking for. We were particularly looking for a village where there are where we can find lanes without any cuts in between, no extra lanes in between. So that gives you that sense of a maze, that you're stuck in a maze like a rat in a maze and you can't get out. And we were obviously lucky enough to find, I mean, these villages are all across Rajasthan, to be honest with you, but we were lucky enough to find one very close to Pushkar. The other locations where the chase goes down, that is a road that even in the past I have gone with my friends for a drive, because it's so beautiful. There's a temple over there which we have not really like specifically shot it, but that temple is a 9th century temple. So I mean, it's like super historical. That temple is 9th century.
Why didn't you tell us then?
I told you that.
We had no idea. We thought it's a random.
Not Alu Baba, the other one. Alu Baba is not.
No, where the monkeys used to come.
Exactly.
The Kachori guy, right?
Yeah. वो 9th century का temple है. उसके अंदर there are some parts.
इसने बताया था?
I told.
No, you did not tell us.
I must have told you guys. तुम्हें याद नहीं होगा. There are parts of it which are 9th century. I mean, वो उस पे क्या rebuild होता रहता है, but there are some pillars and
parts of it.
Yeah, we landed up there. I remember in November only. In November 2019, I think in 3 weeks.
तो वहाँ हम बहुत बार गए हुए हैं with my friends and like just for a drive. So long back I've been there. So we knew that there's this spot which you go through this rocky road to get to this temple. So we knew that part of it. Then we discovered more that you go down this road, there's these sand dunes, you go a little ahead, there's this beautiful village. So it was sort of all in a very small area, and that's really the beauty of this planet. We did nothing, we just found those places. Honestly, that was our only effort. कि हमने ढूंढ लिया. But everything else was like there, it was just there to be. If you put a bit of effort, I think India is just.
Yeah.
The country is a pilot.
It's
The country is a
incredible,
pilot.
बहुत अच्छे location.
Gaurav, also the fact that at so many points there is one worldview against another worldview. The old Indian culture versus the new Indian culture. I love the fact that even in the railway station, when the boys are asked to give explanations, their mother is obviously remarrying, and they're cool with it, or they've made peace with it.
At least one of them is cool.
Yeah, and they've realized life has to carry on, so they're part of the celebrations, the festivities. But the moment they mention it to the cops, they realize, oh my God, they could judge us. I thought it was a very beautiful moment. And did those kind of things, did you build them initially? Did you build them as the script progressed? I don't know. All of it couldn't have been on paper right at the beginning.
No, I think it all is a slow process. It keeps coming. I think this came in a discussion where 4 of us were discussing right before shoot in December.
Yeah.
In December, just
This
end
came
of
at the end.
end of December, and we were shooting on 25th Jan. I remember. So this came in like 25th December. It came in or something like that. A month before, and we thought it's a great idea because it will show one side of the spectrum. This is who these people are. Their mom is getting remanded, and the other side of the spectrum is, what you see, Jhumpa, and who's giving. She's doing all sorts of things to survive. So to answer your question, all of this comes slowly, and a lot of, once you write a lot of stuff, but once the actors come there, their mind is also working when they are kind of doing, so they are coming up with stuff there, and then you keep the good stuff and don't like the other stuff and keep moving. So it's a constant process, and I think the actors, because they were so in it, we did a lot of rehearsals. We went there. It's not like we just landed up and shot. We did a lot of rehearsals, blockings, not acting but blocking for the whole crew. They were long takes. So when they were in it, they were feeling something. When they come back to the hotel, have dinner, and then saying, I was thinking maybe we should do that, and then if it's a good idea, it'll find place, in the script. So it's a process that you build. Everybody adds.
And Karan, obviously it was such a well-researched piece, because what happens in situations like this is there's always a nexus. In this case, for example, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but since we're talking about the kidnapping of children, there's obviously a very strong nexus between educated doctors who run hospitals, and even in some cases people who are at the lowest end of the spectrum, who are underprivileged and who are part of rehabilitation centers. Because how do you get people who are so desperate enough to pick up babies at really rural interior railway stations? And this is the stuff that you've spent years researching.
Research was a very big part of this project. We did a lot of on-ground research as well. But about what you mentioned, and without giving out spoilers, what's really crazy about life and art and storytelling, we wrote our ending, and a few months later, literally a few months later, we saw, I still have that somewhere. It happened in UP. Exactly same thing happened in UP.
Wow.
Where the doctors were doing the scam, and 4 or 5 hours later, they were caught. Baby was picked up. The cops went after looking for this baby that was picked up at a bus station or something and found at a hospital. It literally happened a few hours, few months later, and maybe there are more instances of it. This might not be the only one, but it was just so crazy that our research was built around the idea that adoption centers, hospital doctors, there's a lot of cases of hospitals in poor places picking up children who are newly born. So the idea probably came from there. But it's uncanny कि एकदम exact चीज happened right after we were just finished writing our the end. So I think that Stolen especially, and me personally, I feel like there's almost no reason to maybe think about original stories, because in India, you get out of your house, raste pe utro, kahani hai kahani hai. Shubham is working on a project right now which is based on a true incident. Their last film also I think was based on a true incident. I'm working on another project that's based on reality. So actually you don't need to get too clever, how you just need to step out of your house, open your eyes, and there are stories everywhere.
Abhishek, I love the interplay of these two brothers, because like they always say, families are largely dysfunctional. All of us scream, shout, yell at each other, this, that. And I found it so beautiful that this guy starts off all angsty and high energy, and he's so edgy and this and that. And round about the end of the film, which is your character, there's a sense of uneasy calm about him, and he almost becomes his brother. You suddenly see him transform, which I thought was just brilliant acting, and I'm sure Gaurav, Karan, you guys will agree with me.
Yeah.
Both these boys, they've done such a
incredible.
brilliant performance,
Yeah, amazing.
feeding off each other as actors and their individual characters. So I know that Shubham and you are great friends. I mean, you go back from your college years, but talk about that. Talk about building this story with a friend who's an actor.
I think I was offered Raman first. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was offered Raman first, and just when I was playing Raman, I was just thinking about this character, which is right here. So I'm like, brilliant character, I want to do it. And somebody else was doing Gotham. But then when that somebody else decided not to be a part of it, then they came and told me that, why don't you play Gotham? But by then I had, I was like completely in sync with Raman. So I was like, mujhe to Raman hi karna hai. But then later I realized that there was no other option, but they needed, with some kind of like credibility to play Gotham, so they can cast another actor for Raman. So jab wo hua tha, I was like, because my casting habits, I said ki let's just cast a friend who is also an actor, and I think then we will get the chemistry. So we started making a list of lots and lots of actors जो मेरे दोस्त हैं, ये हैं, वो हैं. कुछ लोगों को मैंने भेजा भी, but they did not respond, or they did not like the idea of doing for probably very little money, and जो ताम झाम होता है. So then one day when I was talking to Shubham, I realized that this is a great space for him, because I know that he has been looking forward to act, and probably was not getting the right kind of script. I had long way back I offered him Luka Chupi, तो भाई साहब ने रिजेक्ट कर दी फिल्म. ठीक है.
नहीं करी, but anyways.
So because he was learning some dance form somewhere in Kerala, so he rejected. ठीक है.
This is what you hear about these arty types.
जी. So
देखो, या तो ज्यादा मूर्ख होगा आदमी, या बहुत ज्यादा आर्टी टाइप होगा. मूर्ख तो आप हो नहीं, तो ज्यादा आर्टी टाइप हो.
You never know.
वो पता चलेगा. But exactly, so if you notice, it was basically that phone call was exactly like what Gotham and Raman's call is. कि मैं उसको समझा रहा हूँ, भाई करना पड़ता है. Acting करनी है तो you will have to do these, these commercial films and all of that. And he's like, यार मुझे नहीं पता, मुझे नहीं करना है. So there was almost like a tiff. So वो tiff जो है ना, in a way बहुत सालों बाद, because I knew that he's a fantastic actor, he just needs an opportunity. And when I had the opportunity to get him on board, I was like on point. I'm like, yeah, please meet him. Then they met him, and I think Katie was sold.
Katie was like,
That was
Katie wanted to first day.
Marry him.
we had not even seen him.
Literally.
I didn't care only actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just some behind the scenes info for you
but
guys.
I didn't care actually.
We were waiting for Gaurav to show up at the interview, so the four of us, which is Karan, myself, Abhishek and Shubham, we went down for a walk, and Karan was completely stuck to Shubham through it all.
Yeah.
He had completely ignored Abhishek and me.
Yeah.
So I figured that there is a click there.
Yeah, totally.
Yes,
totally.
totally.
They click very well. And from first day,
Love
also.
at first sight.
And we were, what I was trying to do is because, you can't raise money on,
Somebody's got to do it, man. Yeah.
So, at that time we were trying to raise money. We had but when we finalized Shubham, I said अभी नहीं हो पाएंगे raise पैसे. नहीं देंगे कोई पैसे, ये reality है life की. तो then I decided कि we will do this ourselves.
तो आपने मेरे काट दिए.
I mean, it was the right choice.
Yeah.
And not only just an actor, and many other things that we were doing, he would contribute everywhere, which is great. I mean, it's like, what else can you ask for?
Yeah, and Shubham, in that aspect, this again, to me, this character is wonderful, because there is a feeling कि जो आदमी नेकी करता है and who has these wonderful feelings in his heart of wanting to help people is a bit of a bhondu, but he's also razor sharp, because there is a particular scene where the cop is asking for money. अब क्या चाहिए? He doesn't latch onto it, but you do.
Yeah.
And you say, घड़ी दे, ये दे, वो दे, चेन छुपा. And the moment he flips, you realize this guy is really actually a sharp photographer. He's worked in cities and this and that. It's just that he's going through this situation which has unearthed the other side of him. So he is actually a pretty sharp city slicker kind of character when he can be. I'd like you to comment on that.
Yeah, I think in any film, any character, you always try as an actor not to play the character in a very 2D way.
Yeah.
अच्छा ये ऐसा है, ये अच्छा है, अच्छे से कुछ होगा नहीं, ऑडियंस बोर ही होगी या स्क्रीन प्ले बोरिंग ही हो जाएगा.
Correct.
So when we were discussing our relationship, we also discussed कि अच्छा ये जो मदद का motivation है, what is it? It can't be just one thing.
Yeah.
There is one thing, yeah, I want to help her. That is there, clearly. It also has to come from some other space, maybe for class. Because फिर हम धीरे धीरे बुनने लगे अच्छा ये कैरेक्टर, क्योंकि मुझे बहुत डर था ये बोरिंग कैरेक्टर ना बन जाए. अच्छा है, अच्छा है, अच्छा है. तो धीरे धीरे पढ़ते, मैं और अभिषेक बात करते थे, बहुत बात करते थे अपने रूम पे जाके क्या कैरेक्टर है. तो हम इस पे पहुंचे कि अच्छा मे बी इट्स ऑल्सो द ईगो टसल विद द कॉप्स, क्योंकि उधर भी तो क्लास डिफरेंस है ना. सिर्फ झुम्पा और कॉप्स में नहीं है, वो रमन और कॉप्स में भी है.
Correct.
तो झुम्पा की जगह रमन ही बता पाएगा, आप FIR लिखो, मुझे आती है इंग्लिश, मुझसे आप बकवास मत करो, पेपर वर्क में मुझसे बहस मत करो. तो आपने जो मुझे पे चिल्लाया है अभी, तो मैं उसका बदला अब आपसे किसी और तरीके से लूंगा. तो आपको अब जाना ही पड़ेगा मदद करने. वेयर ही कम्स एंड ही गेट्स इरिटेटेड बिकॉज इट्स आवर इंटरनल मोटिवेशन, नॉट इन द स्क्रिप्ट. ही नोज व्हाट आई एम डूइंग, and that's why he gets more irritating, especially after the Aadhaar card conversation.
Yeah.
So we were also doing these things कि it's not just मदद करनी अच्छा है, नहीं practical है. It's also that relationship between two brothers जहाँ पे पता है कि तू irritate कर रहा है because I know तू क्या कर रहा है.
Correct.
I know your game. So वो बहुत actually.
I noticed that scene where he turns around to the cop and says, "Sir, इसका आधार कार्ड तो लौटाइए." कौन सा कार्ड?
नहीं, और वो वहाँ पे बोलता है ना कि क्या कहते
fantastic
हैं,
moment.
तुझे सच में जाना है क्या वहाँ की शादी? You know, so it's he knows that there's something he's trying to avoid or whatever, and वो play I think interesting.
Yeah, Karan and Gaurav, choreographing the crowd sequences, especially the crowd violence, is not an easy thing to do, especially when you have so many people together with lathis and this and that. How did you manage to win that? You obviously had to have a very on-the-ball cinematographer, you know, crowd control, and a lot of them wouldn't have been actors, right?
Yeah, all real people.
All real people.
Wow. So talk about that. Talk about those
We did
crowd
a
sequences.
bunch of rehearsal, you know, especially like the lynching scene. That was very, very deeply rehearsed. And in fact, I mean, the credit actually goes to our to the AD team, because while we were shooting other stuff, they were rehearsing that scene with the crowd.
With the crowd. With the
Then
villagers.
when we were finished with what we were doing, then Abhishek also came along and did multiple rehearsals with the crowd, so that the crowd knows exactly what has to be done and how Abhishek is going to be fitted into that, because for him he doesn't need so many rehearsals, maybe he needs 1 or 2, but they need 6.
Yeah.
So he did those extra rehearsals for them. So also because we couldn't shoot the film daytime, we couldn't shoot between almost 9:30 to 3 o'clock, maybe 10 to 3, 9 to 3. So we only had like 2 hours in the morning and 2-3 hours in the evening to shoot, because we wanted to shoot everything in that early morning light. So during the daytime when we couldn't shoot, we would invest that time in rehearsing, in blocking, and not rehearsing acting, but mainly rehearsing blocking. Because with the crowd, what happened was that they were never told to act. They was told ये हो रहा है, आपको समझ में आ रहा है क्या हो रहा है, आप just do your thing, play yourself.
So each guy plays himself.
They just play themselves. And if you were to shoot a film where you had a wide shot, then you had a close up, then you had a mid shot, then you had a reverse, then what happens is everything got to get matched.
True.
And therein lies, then you need professionals, because they only know how this works when you have to match stuff. But because we were not shooting like that, we were just shooting, the camera stays on our protagonist, stays with him, everything else is happening around him. So that need to match didn't actually really exist for us. So for a film like this, I mean, and the way I thought I was going to shoot it, I was pretty sure that I wouldn't need this sort of like specialized acting for these people. As long as they looked right, it would just work, because all we wanted to do was just stay with Abhishek the whole time. This was already known from like 3 years ago, you know. So that way it became manageable and kind of easy to do. Working with real people worked in our favor, you know, and yeah, we practiced with them, rehearsed with them, and also the style we shot in added to the help that, you know, we could get away with a lot. I mean, a lot of shit. People in the back were laughing also.
I'm sure.
But you can't see them.
You can't.
You know, and even if they were caught laughing, actually in real life, this
okay.
is what
Real
happens.
life.
What happens,
Yeah.
You know, they're not all like, oh, मार देंगे जान से. कुछ लोग हंस भी रहे हैं, ऐसा भी होता है. तो, you know, it kind of all played into it. And when we had called 60-80 people, तो 60 people more came from the village देखने के लिए, तो वो भी एक अपना crowd बन गया जो देखने वाले लोग आए हुए हैं. So it was very realistic because एक छोटा सा कैमरा, एक DOP जो घुस के कर रहा है काम, बाकी everybody is out of the way. क्योंकि कैमरा कहीं भी घूम सकता है. So the crew had to stay out of the way. मतलब so many times I could not even see what was happening because मैं खुद भाग के छुप रहा हूँ क्योंकि कैमरा कहीं भी घूमता था. It was 360 degrees. It was no यहाँ मत जाओ, वहाँ मत जाओ. लोग छुप रहे हैं, डाइव मार के, you know, कैमरे से छुप रहे हैं, ये सब हो रहा है. कैमरा के पीछे it was full comedy. सामने इतना serious scene, कैमरा के पीछे comedy चल रही है. So you know, it was a very fun, really fun experience. बहुत मजा आया.
Gaurav, you have so many people championing the film. I mean, Vikramaditya Motwane, Anurag, people who have gone out on a limb. Mr. Kamal Hassan, you know, called you guys over. Talk about that. Talk about how wonderful that is. It's very rare for the fraternity to come together and support an independent film like this. This is an indie film at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly agree with the labeling, but you know, the people really came together. I mean, Anurag, Kiran, Nikhil.
You know what, Kamal sir actually said that.
Yeah.
Don't call it an indie film. The thing is that what happens is that when we tag it like that, everybody perceives it to be some art house film. And what it's very important for the audience to understand is that independent films is basically just made with money which are not from the
Studios.
or the system.
It works outside the
Outside the
conventional
system.
system of making films. You know, there are many ways to make films. There is no one way. But Bombay follows a certain way of making films, or say 5 more ways of working films. So we were outside that system. The independent in that sense is independent in thought, in making, and you know. But coming together of these guys was exceptional. I mean, this happened not very long ago. This happened a month and a half ago. The conversations have been on, and they wanted. Actually, they themselves wanted to do. Since they watched the film, what can we do for it? And whatever. Every now and then, they worked with Abhishek. I met them somewhere, or some other film is happening. They say, "Kya ho raha hai film ka?" So I said, यार कुछ नहीं हो रहा, अभी तो मूव नहीं हो रहा है, फेस्टिवल चल रहा है, ये वो चल रहा है. तो they would like it, let us know what we can do. And then a month and a half ago, it all came together and they said, okay, no, we want to do this. And when Amazon came on board, they said, okay, we'll provide our collective might and credibility and you know what they built over years to this film and say, okay, guys, go watch this film.
And a lot of time and
talk about how many
genuine
countries,
effort.
Karan, how many countries has it gone to, and what you were number one in the worldwide charts for a while.
Yeah.
On the third or fourth day, we
Third
were getting
day.
this news
Wow.
where it was number one in America, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Germany,
Singapore.
UAE. So it was just like news was pouring in. Okay, oh, we've hit number one here, there, and I think now almost 2 weeks ho gaye, and we are
It's
still
still
number
Seven.
7. Yesterday, day before yesterday,
seven.
नहीं है.
4 पे
नहीं,
मतलब जो भी है
last
top
check
10 में
it.
है.
top 10 में अभी भी है. Yeah, it's
It's a big
It's
deal for
even
us,
in the
you know,
UK.
we-
Of course,
yeah.
man.
And there are I
Big
think
deal.
there have been 4 or 5 films on Amazon itself has left, you know,
Yeah.
series, traitors, and
came, वो आई गई, man, एक और I don't want to take that name, sorry, cut कर देना वो, पर एक वो फिल्म आई थी, आई गई, गाने
मतलब कहने का मतलब है कि it's not as though it was
बहुत सारी
a low release weekend. I mean,
no.
films have been coming
Houseful,
out.
Thug Life.
I mean, we
big
released on a
film.
Wednesday.
Yeah, actually it was crazy because Houseful and Thug Life both were like massive films, and we were this tiny film, and people just started talking about us also, you know, with these. So we were like, we actually got lucky
Yeah.
with the kind of attention we got.
But meeting Kamal Sir must have been like an out of body experience.
अरे,
Exceptional.
क्या, it was so fun, so fun.
Exceptional.
He's the cinema
He's
encyclopedia.
and he's like and whatever age he is, I'm sure he's about 68, 70. He's childlike passion in him still about
Energy is like
making
45,
films.
50.
Yes.
And he had questions to ask
That's
you
it.
guys about the making and
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
managed. And
He had a lot to
everything,
share about his
Yeah.
own experiences and
think
how
I-
he did what.
I think he collectively just gave us the confidence to, you know, choose the path we want to choose.
Yeah.
That's the kind of confidence we got after meeting Kamal sir. Like, you know, that I think that was the biggest validation for us.
Yeah.
For a legend of this caliber who
Yeah.
has just like been a part of all form of like, you know, activities in filmmaking. him liking the film, him talking about it, he was not. I don't think स्टोलन के बारे में उतनी बात हो रही थी फिल्म की, सिनेमा की.
पहले शुरू स्टोलन के बाद में, उसके बाद बात सिनेमा पे अलग-अलग
He was
जगहों
just
पे
like-
चली.
And
Yeah, true,
surprisingly he understood where we are. As if कि वो कर चुके हैं, मुझे पता है कि
It
हमें
felt
कैसे
like,
जाना है.
it did not fit. After a point, it was like not the legend. It was like a college senior or professor who you're talking to. Yeah, right?
Professor vibe.
हाँ,
Master class थी.
Master
तेरी- cinema
And we
की
saw his
and full-
pictures when he was like 4 when he was 4 years, and he's been working in film since he was 4.
Yeah, 5-6 years old.
Incredible. He spent a life in film.
Life in
He was a
film,
child-
Bharatanatyam,
child actor.
dancer. Oh,
Unbelievable.
हाँ,
everything.
exactly.
I mean, I didn't.
And he writes, directs, produces, acts. मतलब he's done
क्या- क्या
250 films as an actor.
Makeup.
Makeup.
Yeah.
Insane.
Phenomenal
Insane.
guy.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Let's talk of Mia. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, the energy she's brought to Jhumpa, and I don't think anybody could do it.
Yeah.
Did she come on later? Was she?
She was the
at a
first.
very early
He was
stage?
the first actor that.
Mia was the first. I mean, out of the two of them, Mia was the first one who was on the film, and she had, as I was mentioning to you, she was recommended to us by Dilip Shankar. We'd seen a couple of films of hers, and I mean, I saw this one film particularly which convinced me that she's definitely going to be able to do it. And like Shubham was saying earlier, it was beyond acting actually, because Mia, her process and her sort of immersion into the character really starts at the very base level of getting out into the world and examining and researching and learning this character that it's not a Bengali character, actually it's a Santhali tribal girl.
Yeah, Mahatos are basically tribals. They're Adivasis.
Yeah, exactly. And that we had written initially a Bangladeshi immigrant, you can say. A Bengali ladki, but not, I mean, very clearly, we were not ever saying clearly, but it was very obvious that this one is across the border. It was Mia who came on, after she came on board, she was like, listen, I have worked extensively in this area of Santhal, the Santhal area, which is a Jharkhand and Bengal border. And I know these people, I know their dialect, I know a lot of, she's worked over there, etc. And that was her idea. So making Jhumpa a Santhali girl, Jhumpa Mato, was actually Mia's idea. She had the know-how and everything. So like even dialogues, we would write in English, her dialogues were written in English. कि हमें यार ये meaning चाहिए. Then she would in fact on set sometimes we would be calling her friends in Purulia and saying अरे यार ये वाला word का नहीं मज़ा नहीं आ रहा, कोई और word बताओ इसके लिए यार, just can we change this line? So phone पे हो रहा है ये सब कुछ, this kind of stuff was going on, and it was all because of her and her really deep understanding. She spent time in surrogate homes with I mean it was deep work that she did into that character. So yeah, I mean Mia, and then yes, like you said, she brought this force to the character, because very early we had decided that बेचारी नहीं बनाना है, दोनों ने decided.
Yeah, because at one point you feel that she's the culprit.
So we wanted her to be a force.
And you needed that. You needed that force for you to feel that way.
So
you can't think of her like in the South you say Pavam. You can't think of her as a
Pavam.
No. She was the first one to like pick up a weapon and start hitting the goons.
Yeah, fantastic.
हम में से she was the one who took the charge.
Yeah.
So that
Correct.
Correct.
Shubham, did you travel to any festival with the film?
Venice.
You went to Venice.
Venice and BF Island. Yeah.
Talk to me about reactions that you got from the community there, from the festival goers there.
Actually Venice और लंदन दोनों BFI का रिएक्शन बहुत अलग था. यूरोप में when it comes to Italy, Venice, I think the space is not familiar to them. So it took time for them to understand कि अच्छा ये इंडिया से जो फिल्म आई है वो इतना एनर्जी है, बिकॉज इफ आई एम गेसिंग राइट, जितनी भी फिल्म्स अब इससे पहले गई हैं वेनिस में, वो एनर्जी थोड़ी डिफरेंट है, वो एक तरह की फिल्म गई हैं. आई थिंक ये स्टोलन बहुत डिफरेंट फिल्म है जो वेनिस फिल्म फेस्टिवल गई है. सो दे टुक टाइम टू अंडरस्टैंड कि अच्छा ये एनर्जी है, लाइक वी नीड टू लाइक कम टू दिस.
Didn't expect that.
तो वो एनर्जी के साथ ना वो थोड़ा ऐसे, मुझे अभी भी याद है वो देख के बाहर निकलते थे, वो थोड़ा बात नहीं करते. क्योंकि हम लोग का क्रू जाता था पूछने के लिए कैसी लगी, वो लिखते वी नीड टाइम करते हुए आगे बढ़ते थे। मैं उनको देखता था फिर कॉफी पीते हुए कुछ ऐसे डिस्टर्ब से कि क्या देख लिया ऐसा। मुझे लगता था उनको क्या पूछूं यार, कैसे पूछूं।
I think one old man shared also, no, that he cried after 50 years.
वो BFI में,
watching a
वो
film.
BFI
में,
BFI.
that was beautiful.
And BFI London का was very different also, I think, because बहुत Indians हैं वहाँ पे, so they did got lot of layers in the film, especially family things, brother. So they were into the film. They were really into the film from first scene. So that was very different. Although दोनों यूरोप में ही आते हैं, but
I mean,
बहुत different
BFI, I
experience.
think there was more laughter. They're getting the kind of jokes which we probably are getting. In Venice, I don't think they wanted to,
No.
smile also.
Uh-huh.
They were like
They
They
shocked.
were like, give us 2 minutes.
Give us 2 minutes, Yeah, that's the beauty when you see your film, different audiences reacting in different ways.
Yeah, Mami, it was a laugh riot.
Yeah.
I think Venice.
मुझे basically Mami में लगा था that oh no, I have performed very badly.
Comedian है.
all of them have lied to me. I think this is the same Dreamgirl or Stree performance which they are liking.
I think in Venice they only saw violence. In London they saw family and वो पूरा relationship के वो nuances. I think in Mami they were just enjoying.
They're enjoying.
No, but even in Venice, some of the later the reviews that came out, they also did write that the beginning is like a dark humor. उन्होंने भी ऐसा लिखा है. They wrote things like that.
Even China, I mean, I remember when we were in China, and you were mentioning about Japan.
Japan
I mean,
में तो
people were
पागल हो गए लोग.
ballistic about it, you know.
जापान में पागल.
Really, they were like, they waited for us for 45 minutes and got autographs signed for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, I say I'm not an actor, by the
Amazing.
actors are not
And
here.
in
but-
Japan में भी
It was
like
completely
thank
crazy.
you for making this film. मैंने कहा
Yeah.
thank you तो पता नहीं.
Because I think, you know, in China and Japan, this child thing is a particular issue. एक जगह पे population बहुत कम है और एक पे नए बच्चे नहीं हो रहे हैं.
Oh okay.
दोनों जगह पे ये, तो they were quite moved, both these places. I remember that reaction was also very extraordinary.
And what stage did Nikhil Advani come in as one of the executives?
All four of them came a month ago.
Came a month ago.
Yeah, I mean Nikhil, I was shooting for Veda. So after Stolen,
After
I
Venice.
think after Venice, the first so I was shooting for Veda, and in between I had to go to Venice.
Yeah.
So जब मैं Venice से आया, I showed him some clips, and he's like, "Oh, this is crazy! Like, what can I see the film and all that?" And I think he then started.
Yes, he started.
He started doing screenings for other filmmakers. He really took it on.
Yeah. He was the
You know,
beginning
like,
of this whole thing.
and then I think him, Vikram sir, like they all got. Anurag sir also at one point has said
Separate,
कि यार मुझे क्या कर सकता हूँ बताना. So they were all like
Very
talking to us.
supportive.
And then
Yeah.
Kiran also. Kiran wanted to do a theatrical release.
Yeah.
Kiran was like यार theatrical करते हैं. Forget all this. चलो चलते हैं theater में. But things, I mean, obviously.
And all
didn't
four
pan
of
out.
तो बहुत मन है यार.
All four of them also reacted like Kiran really I mean, she was really about Jhumpa character. She really identified with her, and Anurag and Vikram had other ways of looking at it, and Nikhil had other ways of looking at it. So also they bring their different kinds of ideology into
Yeah.
True,
Yeah.
true. And your BGM is by?
Arpad. It's a German 77-year-old composer.
Wow. Where did you
Yeah.
find him?
He's a friend of mine's father, and he teaches music to directors, composing music for screen to directors.
Kya
No, not composing. He teaches like how directors can use music in film, not composing, to understand music for film.
That's beautiful because you've used silences where you need to use silences. You've not filled all the gaps in with the music, which is so
I
unnecessary.
think KD was quite clear in the beginning that he told me I don't want music. I said I'll use it only at places, I'll only use it at places that to enhance it. Actually, I don't want it.
There you have it, guys.
Good thing you did it.
It's Stolen. It's streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Terrific film. And I've not had so much fun in a long time doing a chat. It's just great fun. It was so immersive, and just like your film.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Karan.
It's
Thank you,
always
Shubham.
pleasure to
and
talk
thank
to
you,
you.
Gaurav.
Always.
Cheers, guys. Please go watch now and show it to everybody.
94.3 Radio 1.